Hey, we're gonna try to finish up what we didn't get to last night. We're gonna talk about the RNC, Trump speech, Biden maybe dropping out. We're gonna talk about Israel and the Houthis, Bangladesh, um, you know, other random news and politics. So check it out. By the way, you can always click the link and join the show and chop it up with me. Everybody is invited. So click the link to join, or you could just leave comments or whatever. I know it's late, but better late than never, huh? I had to work, and I had to get my Popeyes, so check it out. Let's go. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Did you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
Tell her to get away from me. She's crazy.
Choose your destiny.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active. Investigate both sides of the argument. Come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whacked and are not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. ¿Podemos ayudarnos más? Sí se puede. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up. Please. Do it for your own benefit. Type something in your search bar. See what pops up. Read a little bit. Anyways, how y'all feeling out there today? I know it's late. I apologize for coming on late. I had to work, so you got to pay the bills. This show doesn't make me any money, and I do this straight out of the love, for sharing information, love for journalism, love for truth, love for light. I do this out of love for y'all. Any of y'all checking it out, especially my folks who check me out every time I come on. I really appreciate y'all. The show before the last show got like 1,200 views or whatever on Rumble. That's pretty good. I'm okay with that. So yeah, check us out on Rumble because that's where I monetize that. I'll probably start doing some shows exclusively on Rumble. I've been saying that for a while. I haven't got around to it, but we'll see how that works out. I'll just keep on trying to improve, you know, do a better job for y'all, but it's really tough because we got this microwave culture where everybody wants everything quick and fast. They watch reels and TikTok shorts and YouTube shorts. And, I really don't have the patience for that stuff for me producing the content, although I do create reels because that's where I get most of my views from or whatever. And that's where I get my subscribers from or whatever. So, it's like I have to do it, but I prefer the long form stuff. So you get a chance to actually dig into the topics and the ideas or whatever and kind of think your way through it or whatever, maybe learn a little bit or something, everyone that checks out the show, whoever you are, we are learning together, and there's always, something new to learn. There's always new perspectives to gain, and whoever you are, I'm sure that some of the stuff we cover on the show you don't see or haven't seen or whatever. I try to pride myself on that and getting up to date stuff or whatever. Anyways, the name of the show today is Trump's RNC. Biden may leave. It's like Trump has rebirthed the Republican Party. And it's really clear, especially after the RNC, the Republic National Convention, and then him picking JD Vance as his VP pick. It's like he already took the party in a new direction, when he became president, the first time. But now it's a new thing, I think, that's happening where it's like the future of the Republican Party is what they're thinking about and what Trump is thinking about, what the party is thinking about, what direction is, are the Republicans going to take up, what kind of party are they going to be in the future and who is going to represent them? Because one of the things I've been saying is like, what's going to happen after the 4 years, let's say Trump wins, what's going to happen after those 4 years that he gets in there? He can't run again. So like, it seems like they're putting a lot of stake in Trump as an individual, and it's like he's going to save the country or whatever. But it's looking like the operatives or the consultants or whatever are looking at it like, what are we going to do in the future? And they're making those moves. And I think that pick at JD Vance as the VP kind of shows where they want to go or whatever. And it's like, so JD Vance will be the future, of the Republican Party. He'll be Donald Trump Jr. or whatever, Donald Trump light, the next guy in line, especially if they win, So then he'll definitely be very likely to be the pick for the party to, be a leader of the party after Trump is no longer there. So there's that. And all of the rumors related to Biden dropping out, I really just don't think that it's going to happen. I covered it in a couple of shows ago that it's been over 100 years since anything close to what they think they could do has happened. And politics kind of goes along with precedent, and there's not very much precedent for a situation where we're this close to the presidential election and then you switch out your candidate, the leader on the ticket. It's so dangerous. just funding alone is an issue because whoever they switch it out to is going to have to, you know, get a lot of funding. You know, the last push into the, you know, the election cycle is where a lot of the money gets spent. You know, you got the ads, and the ads have a lot of impact on those, you know, middle of the road undecided voter types, and those margins is what's going to make a difference on who's going to win the election. Because no matter what, however you think about it, it's going to come down neck and neck. It's going to be neck and neck. There won't be a landslide. Okay. So, and they know this. So those people in the margins are going to decide this election, and those ads are going to be what helps that happen. You know, the guy that's sitting on his couch, who's watching his TV show, who's not all that into politics, and then the ad jumps on, you know, in between his TV show or whatever, and that ad can sway him one way or another. And so they're going to spend a lot of money on those TV spots. So if the money that the Democratic Party has already put into their war chest for Biden, uh, Harris, that money can't be transferred to a new candidate. So that new candidate would have to raise funds, you know, new funds. So that's just one of the problems. They have problems that's going to have to do with the dates related to states, like with the delegates and pledge delegates and all of that, you know, and if the Democratic convention goes long, then those dates, you might end up passing those dates, and that's going to be a problem, you know. And then how are the Democrats, you know, whoever they pick, are they sure that, you know, people are going to get on board with that right away? You know, there's only a little while left. There's a few months left before the election. So you got to sell a new person to the people, you know, that's a tough job. So I really just don't see it. Like the Democrats get paid to lose. They shoot themselves in the foot all the time, and they've done it again. And they have a terrible candidate again. And they are at the last, you know, leg of the journey of running for president, and it's just too late. I really just don't see it happening, even though a lot of people are talking about it online. And it's a, they're saying Democratic donators, they're not trying to give money, you know, to the Democratic Party if Biden's at the top of the ticket or whatever. But, you know, those people aren't going to dictate what happens. You know, the funding can come from somewhere else. You know, those people cannot support Biden, and that's fine. You know, even people within his circle that's close to him can be like, you know, we don't want to support you or whatever, and that's fine. But the wheels turn slowly. You know, it's national politics. You can't. I don't think they have enough time, and they really just don't have much of a choice. They have to go with Biden. So now there is a scenario that I can see happening where, let's say Biden wins, which I don't think he will, but let's say Biden does win, and then in that scenario, then they can be like, Biden is sick or whatever. You know, they said Biden has COVID right now and he's isolating himself or whatever. And that's another thing that adds to the rumors of Biden dropping out, because he said if I get sick or something, that'd be the only reason why I would drop out. But I could see him, if he was to win, then after the election is, after he gets inaugurated and everything, then, you know, he could be like, you know, I'm sick or whatever, I'm not capable to do the job or whatever. Then at that point they would hand it over to Kamala Harris. So we could see a scenario where if Biden was to win the election, that it'll end up being Kamala Harris as the president of the United States. Now I know that that's cringy for a lot of us, but it could, That could very well happen. But as far as them replacing him and putting somebody else in there before the election, I don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, it's so many things that would have to fall into place for that to happen, and I just don't see it. So yeah, where do we start? Do we want to look at headlines? Let's go to headlines and start there. AP top headline: Beyond Biden, Democrats are split over who will be next. Democrats are not only split on whether President Joe Biden should quit his reelection race, they're also not on the same page about what to do if he goes. See, problems. Like, and this is the top story. So, of course, the news cycle was the RNC and Trump speeches and rebuttals and fact checking and stuff after the RNC situation. We're going to be going into the Democratic National Convention coming up. So the news cycle flips. And, they don't want to continue to harp on the RNC because it really just gives more fuel to Trump's fire and the Republicans, and making it better for them to be easier for them to win the election. So quickly switch the narrative and start talking about whether Biden is going to drop out or not. I think a lot of these are just media stories, like filler, something to talk about, something to keep y'all distracted, something to just like distract. But let's look at it anyways. Beyond Biden, Democrats are split over who will be next, VP Harris or launch a mini primary. Like, they do not have time to come on. They have time to do like a mini primary. Come on. They do not have that time. And Harris is just not popular enough to just throw her in there. You might just be throwing the election away by putting her in there like that, which they could do. Biden could release his delegates, and they could throw the whole Democratic machine behind Harris, but I don't think it would be good enough. She's a terrible candidate also. It says by Lisa Mascaro, Darlene Superville, and Will Wysert. July 20th, 2024. Washington AP. As Democrats churn over whether President Joe Biden should stay in the 2024 race, the party turmoil is deepening over whether his Vice President Kamala Harris is next in line for the job, or if a mini primary should be quickly launched to choose a new nominee before the party's August convention. They could have did a real primary, a vibrant primary, a long time ago, and picked a more viable candidate than Biden. They could have done that. They knew Biden was a terrible candidate. They knew it, but I don't know. It's the Democrats. Like I say, they get paid to lose. They like losing or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's the good cop, bad cop thing. And they could say, our hands are tied. It was the Republicans, Y'all could have done a primary, and y'all could have selected a better candidate. Y'all could have done that, but now it's too late. So y'all just breezed through the primary. They did have a primary, but it wasn't like a vibrant primary where you had, you knew that Biden was going to be the nominee. It wasn't like a real primary. It says Harris hit the campaign fundraising circuit Saturday in breezy Provincetown, Massachusetts, and picked up a nod from the state's prominent Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, who said before the visit that if Biden were to step aside, his vice president is ready to step up. Okay. If you say so. At the event, which organizers said raised $2 million and was attended by 1,000 guests, Harris did not mention the calls for Biden to leave the race or for her to replace him, instead repeating one of the regular campaign lines, we're going to win this election, she said. And like $2 million, that seems kind of soft, right? Man, they need a whole bunch of money. That $2 million is going to be a drop in the bucket. It says, do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in equality? Do we believe in the promise of America? Then we are ready to fight for it. She called for to a cheering crowd. When we fight, we win. So that's the thing about the Democrats too. They don't really give you anything to vote for. They give you stuff to vote against, you know. So this is like Trump bad, you know, Trump is against democracy or whatever, against equality or whatever. So vote for the Democrats against Trump. And that's what they're giving people. And for me, that doesn't motivate me to go vote. Like, you need to give me some policies. You need to give me something to vote for. Tell me what you're going to do to help the American people, you know. It says, but installing Harris to the top of the ticket, which would be a history-making moment for the party, elevating the first woman, Black person, and person of South Asian descent as its presidential nominee, is not at all certain. Officials from the highest ranks, including Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, prefer an open process, some believing it would strengthen any Democratic nominee to confront Republican Donald Trump. I mean, it would, but y'all don't have time to actually do that, so... If you think that there's consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave that they will support Kamala, Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez said this week on a widely discussed social media post. Yeah, her post went viral. I saw it. And she was talking about how, like, you know, you have racial lines and so forth where certain groups are supportive and certain groups are not. Basically, the Democratic Party is divided in this whole thing. You know, they don't like their chances after Biden's terrible performance at the debate. You know, and it's like, what, they were the ones who organized that whole thing. They're the ones that really wanted that thing to happen even before the nomination. So that's what I mean about them shooting themselves in the foot. Like, why did they do that? Like, they thought it was gonna help them in some kind of way. It didn't work out. It didn't work out at all. It hurt them a lot. And before the nomination, like, and that's what has led to these talks about, you know, putting somebody else in there, is because of that debate. And why did they have, it was the first time they ever had a debate before the either side had actually nominated, you know. That's crazy. And now they're worried about if they can nominate him at all. Like, why did y'all do that? It says, with the publicly aired deliberations, Democrats are prolonging an extraordinary moment of uncertainty and upheaval. Biden has weighty options before him this weekend that could set the direction of the country and his party as the nation heads toward the November election. Like, look how many unprecedented things have happened. Not necessarily unprecedented, but like a long time. And let's call them history moments, like Trump getting shot, like them trying to replace Biden, you know, at the top of the ticket. Like, these are historic moments. You know, how is the rest of the world looking at the United States right now? It's like, bro, can y'all get y'all stuff together? Like, what is going on? Y'all supposed to be the leaders of the free world? Y'all can't even protect y'all president. Reading on, it says, it's creating a stark juxtaposition with Republicans who, after years of bitter and chaotic infighting over Trump, are energized and embracing the former president's far-right takeover of the GOP, despite his criminal conviction in a hush money case and pending federal criminal indictment for trying to overturn the 2020 election before the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. So yeah, we saw a lot of infighting within the Republican Party recently, you know, with them taking out their speaker and replacing them, and then taking that guy out too. And it's like, you know, you had the Trump loyalist folks against the like traditional Republicans or whatever. But now, after the RNC, and at this point, it's looking like the party is pretty united behind Trump, and they're pretty united overall. And also, they've created a new Republican Party and a new direction for the party, and it's being embraced. You know, so meanwhile, it's usually the other way around. Well, it has been the other way around where the Democrats just kind of like go with the flow every time. Like they want to look like they're the upstanding party or organized party or whatever. So whoever, is knighted or anointed as like the speaker or whatever it is, they just fall in line behind them. And if they do have any problems with that stuff, then they say it quietly. They don't do it publicly. But now you got people publicly, fighting. They're fighting themselves, basically, publicly. Biden, despite a week of campaign stops, interviews, and insistence that he is the best candidate to take on Trump in a rematch, hasn't been able to quell the uproar. Skeptical Democrats doubt he can keep the White House after his stumbled debate performance last month, and worry he will take hopes for party control of Congress down with him. Yeah, so then that's what's really kind of scary, Trump can win, and then they could take the House and the Senate. And then they'll be able to push through whatever they want to, probably for the first 2 years. And, for the Democrats, that's scary for them. They won't have a chance to win back seats or win back majority for 2 years. On Saturday, Representative Mark Takano, the top Democrat on the House Veterans Affairs Committee, added his name to the list of nearly 3 dozen Democrats in Congress who say it's time for Biden to leave the race. California called on Biden to pass the torch to Harris. More lawmakers are expected to speak out in the days ahead. Donors have raised concerns. It says there is no joy in the recognition he should not be our nominee in November, said Democratic Representative Morgan McGarvey of Kentucky, one of the Democrats urging Biden's exit from the race. They show a picture of Biden looking confused. He's like, where am I? Cereal aisle? What is this, a campaign stop? Why did they take that picture? Does he always have that face? They couldn't wait till he had a better face. It says, from his beach home in Delaware, Biden, 81, is isolated after announcing a COVID infection, but also politically with a small circle of family and close advisors. White House Dr. Kevin O'Connor said Saturday that Biden's symptoms were improving, but that he remained plagued by a dry cough and hoarseness. He receives separate briefings Saturday on domestic and national security issues, the White House said. The president seems to insist that he's ready to return to the campaign this coming week to counter what he called a dark vision laid out by Trump. Together as a party and as a country, we can and will defeat him at the ballot box, Biden said in a statement Friday. But outside the Rehoboth enclave, the debate and passions are intensifying. Yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of this because it's gerbil. Let me see. Are there other headlines? Let's see. Let's look at the other headlines real quick, and then we're going to move on. It says, read more. Trump holds first rally after assassination attempt with his new running mate, Vance, by his side. Gunman in Trump rally attack, flew drone over rally site in advance of event, officials said. Seems like this guy was pretty damn organized, right? I mean, wow. This guy, slanted roof, beat the Secret Service. This guy flew a drone over, like he planned, he executed. damn near was successful. Another one that says Trump campaign releases letter on his injury treatment after last week's assassination attempt. It's a lot of speculation, and they're like, oh, he's supposed to have stitches. Oh, he didn't really get shot. Oh, it was glass that hit his ear or whatever. Come on, y'all. They're not going to do stitches on an injury like that anyways. Like, they're not going to have an impact. He got shot. It happened. So all these complicated conspiracy theories that people want to say, you know, it's not that deep. He got shot. It happened. Can say he didn't really get shot. He got shot. The bullet hit his ear. That's getting shot, bro. It says Republican field in Michigan Senate race thins as party coalesces around former Representative Mike Rogers. Why are they talking about that particular race? Here's what to do with deli meats as the CDC investigates a listeria outbreak across the U.S. Yeah, those deli meats always tend to be a problem. You know, it's raw, uncooked. Well, they're pre-cooked or whatever, but it's perfect place for some bacteria to just hang out. And because you don't heat it, then you can consume it and you can get sick really easily. So, you know, they're carcinogenic anyways. You know, it's over processed. You probably shouldn't eat it. People say this stuff is healthy, you know, sandwiches are healthy or whatever. I mean, maybe the lettuce and the tomato that you put on there, the onion is healthy, but those deli meats aren't necessarily healthy. They're full of salt, they're full of preservatives. Let's see. Caitlin Clark. I thought they said she wasn't going to be on um, the All Stars. You know, the freshman class in the WNBA has brought a lot of attention to the WNBA, and that's a good thing for them. I'm gonna lie, it's kind of hard to watch for me, but I have become a fan of, like, what's her name, Reese. I'm a fan of her. It says 12-year-old girl accused of smothering her 8-year-old cousin over an iPhone. I saw this story. What a terrible story. I have a 12-year-old daughter. And when I saw this story, I was like, I can't imagine my daughter, like, offing someone. Like, I don't think she has it in her. Like, really? Let's look at this, a little bit of this story. This is crazy right here. 12-year-old girl is accused of smothering her 8-year-old cousin over an iPhone. What kind of situation is in their household? You know, who's paying attention to these kids, and like, what kind of behavior are they witnessing? You know, like, wow, 12 years old is really young to be like murdering someone. Like, that's crazy. July 20th, 2024. Humboldt, Tennessee. A 12-year-old girl in Tennessee has been charged with murder, accused of smothering her 8-year-old cousin as the younger girl slept. A relative said they had been arguing over an iPhone. So, wow, she's sleeping and she smothers her. Like, goodness gracious. No, man. The parents, you know, like, we're family members or whatever, but man, I think we're gonna have to fight about this. I mean, it's not funny, but it's like, bro, like, my kid was over there and you wasn't paying attention. Like, bro, we have a problem. It says a security camera recording the killing inside the bedroom they shared on July 15th in Humboldt, Tennessee. the county prosecutor said. So yeah, she's not going to be able to beat this case. And then that they're charging her with murder, like, so that means they're probably planning on charging her as an adult. And then if they got video, she's not going to beat that case. She's in trouble. It says the recording shows the older child using bedding to suffocate her cousin as the younger girl slept in the top bunk. Gibson District Attorney Frederick Agee's statement said after the child died, the juvenile cleaned up the victim and repositioned her body. Like, so you even tried to cover up the crime. So it's like, that's probably why they charging her with murder too, you know, because when you commit a crime and then you try to cover it up, that makes it more serious. It says a relative told WREG TV in Memphis that the girl had been arguing over an iPhone after coming from out of town to stay with their grandmother. The girl was charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence after authorities obtained the video on Wednesday. First-degree murder. I consider this to be one of the most disturbing violent acts committed by either an adult or a juvenile that my office has prosecuted, Agee wrote in a statement. He said he would petition a judge to prosecute the girl who turns 13 later this month in adult court, which would allow for a lengthier sentence, whether that would be through incarceration or supervision with court order conditions. Yeah, they're going to charge her as an adult. Is that it? What a terrible story. That's terrible. I know. Where were the parents? They said they were at their grandma's house. Where was grandma? I don't know. You don't expect the kid to like kill the other kid, so. Another headline, it says, as a scholar, he's charted the decline in religion. Now the church he pastors is closing his door. Oh, that's weird. So he was a scholar, and he said religion declined, but then he opens a church. Another headline, it says, a man kills a grizzly bear in Montana after it attacks while he is picking berries. He's randomly picking berries, and I don't know, I guess it could have happened for real. That was one of those fishy stories to me, like maybe the guy went out there to shoot bears, and he used the berry story as a cover. Because it's illegal to shoot bears. Unless you're like in mortal danger. Let me see. Where did I leave off yesterday? I really wanted to play some clips from the convention. I think I have some of them in here. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. IT outage. I think I covered that. Okay, let me see. Maybe I'll play a video to catch up. Okay, it looks like this is about where I left off. Hold on. I know I covered that. Mass deportations now. Okay, yeah, we stopped on Cory Booker last night. No, we didn't. We stopped on this one.
From Milwaukee and the Republican National Convention, we do begin tonight with breaking news involving President Biden. There is word just in tonight he has tested positive for COVID while campaigning in the battleground state of Nevada. Just moments ago, these images coming in, President Biden boarding Air Force One, leaving. The president appearing right here to be battling the effects of COVID, moving very slowly as he walks up those stairs to Air Force One. And this moment in this campaign comes amid new questions tonight over whether President Biden will stay in this race. A new call for him to, quote, passed the torch from a leading Democrat in the House. This is all fast-moving. President Biden's moments ago flashing a thumbs up saying, "I feel good." And ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce leading us off from Milwaukee.
President Biden was supposed to address a conference in Las Vegas tonight, but moments ago, this announcement.
The president has been at many events, as we all know, and he just tested positive for COVID.
The news comes among growing uncertainty among top Democrats about the future of the president's campaign. Today, Congressman Adam Schiff, who is running for Senate in California and is a close ally of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, calling on Biden to leave the race.
Mr. President, any response to Adam Schiff?
Schiff, who is a friend of the president's, writing Joe Biden has been one of the most consequential presidents in our nation's history, and his lifetime of service as a senator, a vice president, and now as president has made our country better. But our nation is at a crossroads. A second Trump presidency will undermine the very foundation of our democracy. And I have serious concerns about whether the president can defeat Donald Trump in November. Over the weekend, Schiff privately voicing his concerns to donors. ABC News obtaining the audio.
I do not think he is the best person to go into this election. I think if he is our nominee, I think we lose.
Today, Schiff going public, saying, "I believe it is time for him to pass the torch, and in doing so, secure his legacy of leadership by allowing us to defeat Donald Trump in the upcoming election." It comes as the Democratic National Committee announces it's shelving an effort to make Biden's nomination official by the end of July through a virtual roll call vote. The DNC Rules Committee now announcing no virtual voting will begin before August 1. The move perhaps intended to buy more time to convince Biden to drop out of the race. Sources telling ABC News it came at the urging of the two most powerful Democrats in Congress, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. So far, Biden resisting all entreaties to drop out of the race, but he has had words of praise for his vice president, Kamala Harris.
By the way, she's not only a great vice president, she could be president of the United States.
In an interview with BET, Biden did say a doctor's recommendation could sway him.
If there has some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem.
An extraordinary sequence of events. We've got Mary Bruce and John Carl with us here tonight because, of course, this is all fast-moving, and this conversation behind the scenes has not let up. And now this new development, we've just learned he's been diagnosed with COVID, and he didn't look great on those stairs there.
No, we saw that video there. The president seeming to struggle a bit, walking slowly up the stairs as he left Las Vegas, heading back home to Delaware. In a statement just now, his doctor says he is experiencing mild symptoms. We're told a runny nose, cough, and general malaise. They say this morning he was feeling fine, but then symptoms developed throughout the day. After his first event in Las Vegas, he tested positive. He's now on his way home to Rehoboth, Delaware, where he will be self-isolating, David.
Listen, the majority of us have gone through COVID. We know what that's like. We wish the president well. Good evening tonight.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Hakeem Jeffries, do they think he's going to be the one? Like, I just don't see it. And, you know, them pushing back the dates, you know, I get it. And that is what's causing so much people to think that they're actually going to do it. But no, I don't think so. It's not going to happen, y'all. I think there's people on both sides that would love to see, you know, a change at the top of the ticket on the Democratic side. But it's just way too close to the election. Like, I don't see it happening. ABC World News tonight. The White House says President Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. The news comes as Representative Adam Schiff joins the chorus of Democrats calling on Biden to quit the race. Schiff is close ally of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So yeah, in that clip, the guy was like, you know, with him on the top of the ticket, we're gonna lose. Let's read some comments. It says, "Put on a mask. Get your booster, Joe. 6 feet separation." Another one that says, "Isn't he vaccinated?" Another one, "This is becoming so transparent, it's crazy." Another one, "The only positive thing he's ever done." What do you mean by that one? Another one that says, "Biden, you're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations," town hall. Yeah, they're repeating what he said. Another comment says, "Heard that his COVID-19 is not real. that it is for him to decide whether to leave the race or stay. Well, he had that hoarse voice during the debate, and then they said that he had like a cold. So that was probably the beginnings of it. And they probably just didn't test him until later. Another comment that says, "Alrighty, folks, they have finally started the switch." Another comment, "When did he ever move fast?" Another one, "Where is his mask? He's within 6 feet of others." Yeah. Gonna be like, Biden gave everybody COVID. Let's look at this. It says over 250 January 6 defendants may seek to vacate their convictions or charges after SCOTUS ruling. So yeah, they're probably gonna let a lot of these people go as a result of the Supreme Court's ruling related to January 6. This kind of made news, but people weren't really talking about it a lot. But this will probably affect a lot of people. Democracy Now! Federal prosecutors have started to offer new plea deals and drop more serious charges against January 6 insurrectionists following last month's Supreme Court ruling that limited the use of felony obstruction of Congress charges against a rioter. Those expected to benefit include members of the extreme right, Oath Keepers, and Proud Boys. Over 250 January 6 defendants could seek to vacate their obstruction convictions or charges, though many of them were also charged with other felonies. So yeah, the ones that got other cases, maybe their sentences will get less or whatever, but they still gonna be in trouble. But the ones that only got those obstruction charges, they're probably gonna have to let those people go. Pharaoh, let my people go. Comments. It says, yet peaceful protesters sounding the alarm about pig cities are facing RICO charges, and colleges let outsiders and oinklets assault students. What a failed state in which we live. I ain't gonna lie, like the legitimacy of the Supreme Court is questionable. A lot of people feel that way, and that's gonna lead to people not respecting the law. When the Supreme Court is kind of wishy-washy on stuff, or if people feel like the Supreme Court is making decisions, for like political reasons and not really just kind of reading the law. Another comment that says, with SCOTUS enabling insurrectionists, they would surely feel emboldened to attempt a bigger and more violent coup if their demands aren't met this November. Yeah, man. I don't know what's going to happen after the election. If Trump loses, I don't know, man. Especially if it's really close, like that time when we had George W. and what was it? Who was the other guy? Dang, he didn't fade to memory. He was Bill Clinton's vice president. Why can't I think of his name? Anyways, it came down to Florida, and then it was the Supreme Court who made the ruling. If it ends up being something like that, yeah, it's going to get crazy. Another comment that says the Supreme Court is illegitimate. Another one, SCOTUS is a failed institution. Another one, this is white privilege in action. DA making deals for people who tried to overthrow the government for lesser consequences, as us expected, not violently suppressing them like they did with college students and other racial justice protests was a jumping the shark moment for America. Another comment says totally unpatriotic. Another one, it says joke country, we deserve whatever we get. Another one, bet white supremacy continues to win. Another one, and yet there are still people incapable of prison for selling weed. I don't know. I can't even think of what word they meant to say there. It says Israeli lawmakers overwhelmingly vote to reject Palestinian statehood. It says Israeli lawmakers overwhelmingly passed a resolution Thursday opposing Palestinian statehood. It's the first time Israel's parliament, the Knesset, has passed such a resolution. The resolution originated from within Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing coalition and also received support from the centrist National Unity Party of Benny Gantz, long seen as Netanyahu's likely successor. The text said a Palestinian state would pose an existential danger to Israel and its citizens. The final vote was 68-9. Palestinian lawmaker and activist Mustafa Barghouti said the Knesset vote was proof that Israel has no interest in a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This resolution represents a rejection of peace with Palestinians and an official declaration of death of Oslo Agreement, Barghouti said on social media. Yeah, that's not surprising, like, at all. Comments, it says, at the very least, this should put the two-state solution nonsense the West has been trying to convince everyone to bed. Only complete decolonization will suffice for long-term peace. Another comment, it says, Israel doesn't want peace, it wants Palestinian blood. Another one, it says, you mean the plays that are trying to ethnically cleanse? Yeah, I don't think they were going to switch up on that. Another one, how is a country entitled to reject someone's statehood? Another one, we vote for complete decolonization of Palestine. Yeah, recently I don't know if this happened before that or after, International Criminal Court and the ICJ, right? They declared that Israel's committing war crimes and all of this stuff. So, arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu and all of that. I don't know if you guys heard that. The Western media is not covering this stuff very well. Another comment, it says, we are at this point that we don't want a two-state solution. We want Palestine as a whole, one state, equal rights, democracy, right to return from the river to the sea, Palestine. Who doesn't want this can go home, Europe, US, etc. Problem solved. Another comment, and we reject the settler colonialists who should be dissolved per international law. Really, really touchy subject there, so I'm going to move on. It says, Israel's Prime Minister rejects calls for official inquiry into October 7th attack. Now, why would he not want an official inquiry into October 7th? Like, those are things that make you go, you know? Why wouldn't he want an official inquiry into October 7th? Doesn't want to officially know what officially happened and have it officially documented. They know what happened, so it's like, what's the point in doing an investigation? We already know what happened. We don't need to investigate nothing. Shoot. Al Jazeera. In a speech to Israeli lawmakers in the Knesset, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed demands for the creation of a state commission of inquiry into the October 7th attack, saying, first, I want to defeat Hamas. Okay. I mean, it's too early to do an investigation. You know what I mean? We at war right now, and we looking at Iran. We looking at Hezbollah. You know what I mean? Nah, we don't have time to be doing no investigations. It's like, bro, you don't have to do the investigation. It's going to be an independent commission. They're going to do it on their own. Like, they can do it while you're at war or whatever. Nah, we ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Comment, it says, any inquiry into October 7th not completely controlled by the IDF will be called anti-Semitic. Word. Another comment, it says, because he will be exposed exactly for knowing October 7th ahead of time, calling for Hannibal protocol, and self-destructing and blaming it all on, well, Hamas. Another comment, it says, when truth is your enemy. Another comment says, interesting, you would think an atrocity should be investigated unless there was something to hide. Another comment, so absolutely no rules apply to this man. One more, it says, in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. Watermelon emoji.
One thing does change. It's not an excuse and explanation. I would ordinarily be going through black neighborhoods on the foot, working through the neighborhoods. I have a tradition. I close every campaign, no matter what campaign, going into the projects and going down the east side. And hey, Joe, well, how you doing? You know, everybody, well, just because they're my friends, let them know I'm still there. We can't do that now. Not because of the black community, because it's too dangerous for me to be out walking unaccompanied. So what I'm doing, though, is trying to keep in touch with as many of my black constituents and letting people know that I'm available. I'm available. It's a reason why I got involved in politics in the first place. Not a joke. Not a joke. Everybody deserves a shot. Everybody deserves a shot. And we've demonstrated, you give them a shot, they step up. They step up in every community. That's why the black community is doing as well as it is now. It's going to do better. And one thing does change is
what the hell is he saying? What is he saying, bro? Can we get a translator or something up in here? Like, come on, man. Come on, Joe. Tariq Alik posted this. He says, so Biden's black outreach is him walking through the projects. Yeah, he's talking about, I can't walk through there. I can't walk through there anymore. It's dangerous. Man, it's dangerous for me to walk through the projects, bro. Like, why would you want to walk through the projects? Like, come on, Joe. Come on, man. And it's like this pandering stuff really gets on my effing nerves, man. I mean, I get it. You need votes or whatever, and you kind of rely on the black community, even though you don't offer the black community anything for their vote, but you rely on them to win. And this is how you do it. Like you meander about walking through the projects, like, and I guess that you think that works somehow. I don't know, man. Comments, it says, you should walk through the projects and apologize to the thousands of black men you've locked up during the 90s with that crime bill. Boom. Another comment, it says, black equals projects, got it. Like, come on, like all black people live in the projects, apparently. I mean, if you want to do outreach for black people, then you need to walk through the projects. I mean, where else are you going to find some black people? Oh my God. Oh. Another comment, it says, he was out there buying some ready rock for Hunter. Another comment, it says, not all of us live in the projects, Joe. Another one, if Trump would have said he was walking around the projects when talking about black people, CNN would have a frenzy and people would be so outraged they would pop. Their head would pop. Yeah, so it's a weird thing about Joe Biden. Whenever he gets in front of certain crowds, like, so he was on BET with this interview. So that's what made him feel comfortable to talk like that. And it was like that when he was in front of the NAACP. He was making strange ass comments, It's like, I don't know. It's a specific audience, so I don't know. I guess he feels like the other people aren't going to hear what he's saying. It's like, this is how I talk with y'all. So, y'all understand me, right? Y'all get me, right? I was the vice president to the first black president. That makes me, almost black. Man. Hold on. These comments are funny. It says, so for the black people who never lived in the projects, ... It says, does he walk through the trailer parks as well? Is that documented? Another one, it says, his black outreach is aborting black life. Another comment, it says, the more this man speaks, the more damage he does to himself. Another one, if Biden truly saw and observed the conditions in the hood and other underserved black areas, redevelopment and enhancement would be at the top of his list, like immigration has been. It says, sit this one out, hashtag. Like, he gets a pass for these weird ass comments that he makes when he's in front of black audiences. I don't know why. I don't want to jump around. Let's go to this one. It says migrant crossings continue to plunge, nearing the level that would lift Biden's border crackdown. So, yeah, I know that the news caught it when it first happened. And then they were like, you know, it's just a political ploy because it's election year, so forth and so on, which probably what it was. I ain't going to even lie. And so, but what's weird about the news cycles is that, you know, the initial story gets coverage and then people just kind of forget about it and, you know, move on with their life or whatever. But, you know, these things don't go away or whatever. Like, things continue to happen. And, you know, we really need more investigative reporting type of journalism so that people can get an understanding of how things work. Like, even with that story in the headlines, all they saw was like, you know, Biden's closing the border or whatever, you know, no longer accepting asylum seekers or whatever. But the details in it wasn't really covered. I covered it in the show, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of the media doesn't do that. CBS News exclusive. The number of migrants unlawfully crossing the U.S. southern border has continued to drop markedly in July, nearing a threshold that will require officials to lift a partial ban on asylum claims enacted by President Biden, according to internal government data obtained by CBS News. July is on track to see the fifth consecutive month drop on migrant apprehensions along the U.S.-Mexico border and the lowest level in illegal immigration there since the fall of 2020 during the Trump administration. The internal Department of Homeland Security figures show. So these are things that the Democratic Party suck at selling or getting the word out or whatever, talking about, because you had Trump's speech, and it was a lot about immigration and how we have a invasion, and you know, all of these people are coming over and they're bringing drugs and crime, and they're killing young girls and all of this stuff. And you know, the facts don't support that stuff. So, and this is what they should be saying. Like, this is what they need to point to, is actual data, you know, and instead of this opinion talking heads type stuff. So it says this data came from the internal Department of Homeland Security. It came from the DHS. So, like, these people aren't partisan or whatever. Like, these are the people who do this work. Like, what reason would they have to lie about this stuff? And even if they were lying, you could go and look at the figures and, you know, get that data. Comments, it says, too bad Republicans shot down a tougher immigration bill, all to blame President Biden. Yeah, that was crazy. And I covered that pretty heavy on the show. It was an actually bipartisan bill. You had Democrats and Republicans signed up for it, and you know, they shot it down. A lot of it was Abbott in Texas, you know, and what's crazy about that, it was introduced by the Republicans, and then they turned back around and was like, nah, that's crazy. And what I say is they use this as a political tool to get votes. So they don't really want to fix the problem. They just want to keep screaming about the problem, you know? That's it, because it gets some votes. They won't have anything to say no more if they actually fixed it. Another comment that says, sure, right before the election too, Trump 2024. Another comment, this is nothing to be proud of. We let 7 million into our country. This is catastrophic. Like, where do they get these numbers? Another comment that says, 10 million people too late, Dementia Joe. You know, and I mentioned it in the show last night about how they get those numbers where they're like, the border had 10 million encounters with people, and then people extrapolate from that 10 million people came over into the country and are here now. And that is not the case. You know, just because they had interactions with Border Patrol doesn't mean that they didn't get turned back, stopped, or retained, or whatever the hell. But they like to use those numbers because it you know, it jumps out and it catches. It's a headline. People don't read articles; they just read headlines. You know, they watch 15-second clips and they don't dig into it, so it works. Another comment says 3.5 years too late, Joe. You screwed us. Another one, 3 years late, Joe. Another comment, don't believe anything from CBS. Another comment, hard not to drop when everyone is already here. Everyone is already here, bro. Like, that's such a silly comment. Everyone's already here. Everyone's already here. From where? Like, can you be a little more specific when you're talking about everyone? Everyone is already here. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What do you mean? All the Guatemalans are here, all the Venezuelans, all the Mexicans, Ecuadorians, Brazilians, El Salvador, they're all here already. Another comment says, Dems figure they have enough votes. Another comment that says, and the liberal media cartel gaslighting us to no end. They never reported out loud the gravity of our border crisis, but they are now diligently reporting the improvements. Why? Because they are against Trump and want to prop Biden voters. Do you really think we are that stupid? Yes. Because your argument is kind of silly. They never reported out loud the gravity of the border crisis. Okay. But they are now diligently reporting their improvements. So can you agree that there's improvements? Like, your little argument there was a dog chasing his tail. Another comment says, thanks, Brandon. Another one, it's fake news. Us Democrats don't have enough votes to beat Trump. He is blessed by God to rule the United States indefinitely. He will win and also win a second term and pass into law no term limits for elected president. The country with banned with Russia to abolish NATO, and the United States will be renamed Melania to make way for his ruler, Supreme Baron Trump. I hope this person is making jokes. Because that's not funny. Let's look at this. It says Biden cancels an additional $1.2 billion in student loans. Washington Post. President Biden on Thursday approved another $1.2 billion in student loan forgiveness for 35,000 public servants, bringing the total amount of education debt canceled under his watch to $168.5 billion. The announcement arrives in the last day of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee and draws attention to a policy the GOP has derided as wasteful and unfair to millions of Americans who paid off their loans and never attended college. The Biden administration has ramped up messaging about the president's accomplishments in providing loan relief to nearly 4.8 million Americans as the election draws near. Yeah, that's one of those things that I don't understand why people have a problem with, uh, student loan forgiveness. Why does it cost so much to go to school and all of this stuff? Like, you don't want an educated public. You don't want educated neighbors. You don't want more doctors and lawyers and engineers. You know, I was really surprised. I'm a University of Houston student, and I was really surprised at how many of my peers are on financial aid. I thought that, being that it's University of Houston, that most of these kids was paying for their school outright, but nope, the majority of them not. And like I said, these are people going to school for engineering, nursing. I mean, you name it, across the board. And they're all on financial aid. They're all getting financial aid, loans, and so forth and so on. Not all of them, but the majority of them are. So, I mean, I don't get people having a problem with it. The thing is, like, the loans come with interest, and let's say you take out 16,000 in loans, and then you graduate and you start paying them off, and you can't pay 16,000 up front, so you pay like a monthly amount, and then your monthly amount is not covering the interest, so it just goes up. The principal goes up. So, I mean, you could feel like it's not fair, for people who paid their school or for people who didn't go to college. I don't even know how you could compare it to people that didn't go to college, but the ones that did go to school and paid for it out up front. But is it fair for those kids to be in debt forever as a result of going to school? Don't you want to motivate people to better their lives? They say get a better job. It's like, you complain about your wages, you're not getting paid enough. Go get a better job. Okay, I want to get a better job, so then I'm gonna go to school. Oh well, you got to pay for it. It's like, well, I don't have the money to pay for it. That's the reason why I'm working this shitty job. So, they created these government programs to assist students in getting an education, and whatever, man. I know I'm not getting through to the ones that don't agree with that. So let's move on.
They've been trying to portray themselves as the party of unity. But here's the thing. If you claim to stand for unity, you need to do more than just use the word. You cannot claim you stand for unity if you are pushing an agenda that deprives whole groups of Americans of basic freedoms, opportunity, and dignity. You cannot claim you stand for unity if you are intent on taking reproductive freedoms from the people of America and the women of America. Trying to ban abortion nationwide as they do and restrict access to IVF and contraception as their plan calls for. You cannot claim to be for unity if you try to overturn a free and fair election and threaten to terminate the United States Constitution. And you cannot claim to be for unity when your entire economic agenda is designed to prioritize billionaires and big corporations over the middle class. We're too busy watching what you're doing to hear what you're saying. In recent days, they've been trying to portray themselves as the party.
We're too busy watching what you're doing to hear what you're saying. Why did she change her little cadence there at the end? ABC News, just in, Vice President Harris is speaking at a campaign event in North Carolina where President Biden is sidelined with COVID-19. Can't claim to be for unity if you try to overturn a free and fair election. Comments, it says, Harris, absolutely a joke. Another one, first time seeing her since the last election. Another comment says, this woman is a joke. I'm a Democrat and I'm voting Republican this year because of her and Biden. Another one, Vance served our country in the military, put his life on the line for the country. What has Harris done in comparison? Well, there goes the comparison between J.D. Vance and Harris. That's going to be going for a while. Another comment, and there she goes dividing again. By the way, when will she visit the border? Another one, amen, Biden Harris 2024. Another one, keep stirring the pot without facts. Another comment, I'm sorry, I would never vote for her. This is a joke, and all Democrats that talked about Sarah Palin should be talking about her because she makes no sense when she puts a sentence together. And this is all in an act. We are in such a mess. I don't know, man. You know, I'm not a fan of Kamala, mainly because she was like a prosecutor and she locked up mostly black people for a living. And, you know, yeah, I'm not a fan of her, but people tend to say stuff. They say these blanket statements like that. Like, you know, they say the same thing about AOC. It's like she's stupid, she's dumb, she doesn't know stuff, her sentences don't make sense or whatever. And it's like, you cannot agree with what she's saying, but trying to say that she doesn't make any sense is just I don't know, I can't even find the right word for that. I mean, you wanna cape for your team, you wanna hold it down for your team, I get it. But be honest about it, you know, don't just make blanket statements, you know. Another comment says, what can be unburdened by what has been? What can be unburdened by what has been? Another comment, people know 2020 was rigged, move on. Another comment, her only two qualifications are not presidential. 2020 was rigged. They keep on screaming that. I mean, like, so are they going to say that if Trump wins this time? Are they going to say that it was rigged? They're going to say it was a free and fair election if Trump wins. If he loses, it was rigged. Like, you know, and again, these are those blanket statements that I don't like. And like looking at the details is what you want to do. And yes, there are some problems with our electoral politics, but they have to do with the way that we draw up districts mostly. You know, a lot of people have a problem with the electoral college. You know, those are where the problems are. People voting more than once, like, hardly ever happens. You know, that kind of stuff doesn't really happen. They have ways to, like, you're not going to get away with it, basically. You're going to get caught. It's a felony. You go to jail for that. Another comment says, clown, this is going to be a landslide. Another one, unity, her party does nothing but divide people into race and gender. Another one, I can't wait to be unburdened by this nitwit. She has done absolutely nothing but cackle for 4 years. And I can't help but to feel like some of these comments are racially motivated. They want to act like it's not, but quickly do this one. It says, in the next 10 or 15 days, Mexico will experience the highest temperatures recorded in history. It says Mexico temperature anomaly. don't know. People don't want to believe. What would have to happen for y'all to believe that climate change is real? That global warming is actually happening? Answer that question for me. What information or data would you have to see for you to believe that is true? Man, education is key, man.
Seems like God's hand is on his shoulder. Your thoughts?
I believe it. I believe we all witnessed a miracle, literally. From, before it happened, the flag above got blown in the wind and it got tied into literally what looked like an angel. Did you see that video?
I didn't see it.
Oh my gosh, you guys have to find that. It was truly, it was like an angel coming down. It was the American flag tied. They had to bring it down and all the people in the stands helped unravel it. And it was literally before he came out on the stage.
Seems like God's hand is on his shoulder. Your thoughts?
I believe it. I believe we all witnessed a miracle, literally. From, before it happened, the flag above got blown in the wind and it got tied into literally what looked like an angel. Did you see that video?
I didn't see it.
Oh my! I have to find that. It was.
It says Major Taylor Greene describes how right before the shooting, she witnessed an angel coming down from heaven that looked like an American flag that saved Donald Trump's life. That's not exactly what she said, but yeah. Let's move on. So this one, it says fact-checking day 3 of the Republican National Convention. Did I cover this? It says GOP Vice President nominee J.D. Vance was a headliner on the third night of the GOP convention, which featured a number of misleading or inaccurate statements. Here are 9 claims that caught our attention in the order in which they were made. As is our practice, we do not award Pinocchios for a roundup of statements made during convention events. I feel like I covered this, but I don't know. It was a lot of these. I'm not sure. President Trump handed Biden a booming economy and a strong nation. All Joe had to do was leave it alone and take a nap. Kimberly Guilfoyle, fiance of Donald Trump Jr. The economy was not booming in January 2021 when Biden became president. The U.S. was in an economic crisis because of the coronavirus pandemic. In the first 3 years of Trump's term, about 6.5 million jobs were created, less than half the number created under Biden in the same time period. Joe Biden advised against the mission that killed Osama bin Laden, former Congressman Lee Zeldin. This claim was based on misinterpretation of what Barack Obama said in the article USA Today in 2012. Obama notes that Biden opposed bin Laden raid. The article says Obama was discussing the 2011 raid on bin Laden's compound, but the transcript makes clear that Obama talking about criticism he received during the 2008 run. Pro-crime district attorneys have turned our cities into giant crime zones. There goes another blanket statement. Donald Trump Jr. says violent crime rates, especially for homicide in large cities, have fallen sharply during Biden's presidency after a surge during the pandemic. The violent crime rate is believed to be near its lowest level in 50 years. So you can look at data for stuff like that, and like people look around, they're like, oh, it's crime everywhere, Well, you're watching the news, and the news covers crime, but that doesn't mean that it's more. Just because every damn news story is covering something, and you think that it's like, oh, the country's gone to shit. The numbers don't reflect that. It says, when I was a senior in high school, the same Joe Biden supported the disastrous invasion of Iraq. Somehow, a real estate developer from New York City by the name of Donald J. Trump was right on the war. GOP Vice President nominee J.D. Vance. Biden supported the Iraq war, but there's no evidence Trump was an opponent of the invasion of Iraq, let alone a vocal one. In fact, he offered lukewarm support when Howard Stern asked him if he supported invading Iraq. Trump replied, "Yeah, I guess so." So, well, this one is kind of wishy-washy right here. I don't know. They're playing on the margins to kind of like compare Donald Trump and Joe Biden about Iraq. Trump wasn't in politics at the time, so like one way or the other, I don't think you can really just put Trump on the line for that, you know. Um, um, on the other hand, Biden was supporting. So like the whole government was supporting the invasion of Iraq, the right and the left, the Republicans and the Democrats. So yeah. And it's easy to be looking at stuff in hindsight and be like, it was wrong or whatever. And who said, who supported it and who didn't or whatever. Like in hindsight, you know, that's not fair. So, but you could say Biden supported it. So that part is fair. But putting Trump in it at all is not fair because he wasn't in politics. So he didn't have any say on it in any kind of way. So like, yeah, that one is on both sides. I think that one is a little. This one, it says, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer. GOP Vice President nominee J.D. Vance. We'll make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. So, I mean, that's kind of fair right there. And because when Trump was saying about NATO and how much the United States puts into NATO and then the other countries don't put in as much, like that's kind of fair. I can get with them on that one. It says, as of April 30th, European aid to Ukraine far exceeded U.S. aid, according to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. So then they're picking and choosing right here. So then they just specifically went to Ukraine. So, just Ukraine, European aid was far exceeded. So, and American people, I don't think that they really like care. We don't want to, if Europe is giving more to Ukraine, okay, whoop the effing do. Like, why the hell are we giving any money to Ukraine at all anyways? And up here, they're talking about, he's alluding to NATO overall. So like, we're not just a specific situation with Ukraine. That's not a fair comparison at all right there. Washington Post, GOP Vice President nominee J.D. Vance was the headliner on the third night of the GOP convention, which featured a number of misleading and inaccurate statements. Here are 9 claims that we caught our attention. Yeah, I read that.
Military intelligence unit may be about to prove its value to the nation's tech economy as Alphabet, the parent company of Google, is in advanced talks to acquire the cyber tech company Wiz for $23 billion. And the founders of Wiz were all former Intel guys in Unit 8200, which is currently collecting on me and other anti-genocide voices in the movement. But like everything the Israeli media fixates on, it's simply a PR stunt meant to manufacture confidence in a flagging sector that accounts for a stunning 20% of local GDP. This Google acquisition move has been lauded as a vote of confidence in the strength and resilience of the Israeli tech economy. It is not. It's simply a matter of having the right product at the right time, and a once-in-a-lifetime $23 billion acquisition that will not even close this year will not ameliorate the geopolitical backlash from the Gaza war. So according to Yuri Gabai, CEO of Rise Israel, a nonprofit think tank, half of the total investment in research and development in Israel originates from abroad, which highlights the potential consequences if Israel becomes undesirable or feared for investment. This has already happened and is beginning to reflect in the data. So join us tonight on State of Play at Mint Press News as we discuss the current flagging state of the Israeli high-tech ecosystem with Paul Bigar, founder of Darklying Circle.
Yeah, so basically Israel is what's the word I want to look for? They are putting themselves in a position where, you know, investments are gonna dry up, you know. They're hurting themselves. Did I do these? I don't want to do any that I already did. I feel like I did this one.
Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, the party tried to show they have more diversity. Throughout the week, Black leaders and influencers had primetime speaking roles. We spoke to SMU political scientist Matthew Wilson.
They've had African-American figure after African-American figure at various levels of government, people running for governor, people who are in Congress, mayors like Mayor Johnson speak to the convention, Amber Rose speak to the convention. Clearly, this has been a concerted effort to say the Republican Party is not just for white people.
Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson bashed his former party on public safety. Johnson, a lifelong Democrat, switched parties after winning re-election for mayor. Wilson says the break with the Democratic Party is being seen more with men.
And I think it's worth noting that the great majority of the African-American speakers that have been featured at this convention have been men, because that's where Trump and the Republicans see a real opportunity. The polling shows a big gender gap in the African-American vote, even more so than we see among white voters. That is, Black men are much more responsive to Trump's and Republicans' appeals.
During the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, the party tried to show they have more diversity. Throughout the week, Black leaders and influencers had primetime speaking roles. We spoke to
Yeah, I covered it a bit in the other show about the separation between Black men and Black women as far as supporting Trump, you know. And then they have this question where they say, is this DEI? And it's like, that's interesting because the way that they use DEI now, and it's like, oh, another DEI hire or whatever. It's code. They use it as a code. Comments, it says, LOL, I know quite a few Black Republicans. These comments are so funny to me. Another comment, let's say what it is. The majority of the Black men who support this party fall into this category: are married to or dating non-women of color, want proximity to white men, support white supremacy, just look at their actions and deeds. See 1 through 3. Another one, Dallas mayor switched parties, had an affair with a staffer, and got a divorce. He fits right into the low morale Republican Party. I think they was trying to say moral. Another comment, they could have 100 African-American men speaking. I'm still not drinking the Kool-Aid. Another one, Black women are not interested in a party who wants to control and manipulate our bodies and our freedom to vote, work, etc. You know, that could be a part. I didn't even mention that in the other one, but the abortion situation, yeah, that could be a reason for the divide between Black women and Black men as far as supporting Trump. Because it's not just supporting Trump, it's supporting the Republican Party. And the Republican Party has been pushing for, you know, bans on abortion. Another comment says, how can you run with a crew that won't let your kids learn their own history? The clips I've been looking for has not popped up.
People have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened. And you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do. when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly. The crowd was confused because they thought I was dead. And there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it. I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Thank you.
So it says former President Donald Trump recounted the story of his attempted assassination during the acceptance speech at the 2024 Republican National Convention. A couple comments. It says he's going to ride this wave all the way to the office because there's that many uneducated people that buy what he's selling. Get that passport ready. Another one, this guy and his followers are straight out of the Simpsons cartoon. Wall Street Journal. Another comment, this man really in love with himself on a whole other level. Another one, when you're trying to meet the 500-word requirement. Another one, too painful to tell. OMG, this dude is such an actor. Another comment, it was like listening to a 5-year-old read a book. Another one, wasn't a big Trump fan, but out of curiosity, I watched the speech. He 100% has my vote and full support. From the bottom of my gut, I know he's the best man for the job.
Supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here. Yeah. Thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God. I'm not supposed to be here tonight.
So it says, I'm not supposed to be here tonight. I stand here before you in the arena only by the grace of Almighty God. Donald Trump gave an emotional recounting of his assassination attempt, saying he would never tell the story again because it's actually too painful. Yeah, man. This might do it for him to win. I ain't gonna lie. Like, you know, this could put him over the top. The ones I'm looking for, I do not see. We covered that. Wanted to do the World Court. It says the World Court has just rejected all Israeli U.S. Western objections, ruled that Israeli occupation of Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and all settlements, is entirely unlawful and declares Israel as committing racial segregation, apartheid. So, yeah, this is one of the ones that I was saying that the media hasn't really covered. It says all states and international organizations must end any aid or assistance to the occupation and must take action to ensure that Israel complies and ends the occupation. It says, and it rules that Israel must evacuate all settlers, dismantle settlements and the wall, provide full reparations to Palestinian victims, and allow all Palestinians who were forced out to return. It says, importantly, they also ruled that the Oslo Agreement do not and cannot trump the obligations of international law, which protect the rights of the Palestinian people.
Is of the opinion that the State of Israel is under an obligation to bring an end to its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory as rapidly as possible. In favor, President Salam, Judges Yusuf, Shoué.
So there we have it, a historic moment. The International Court of Justice finding in its advisory opinion Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful. The court president, Nawaf Salam, went on to say the court had also found that all states are under an obligation to distinguish between Israel and the occupied territory, and that the state of Israel is under an obligation to end its presence in the occupied territory, to cease immediately all settlements and to evacuate settlers. And it went on to even call on Israel to make reparations for...
By 11 votes to 4.
So, yeah, you know, they're calling this anti-Semitic.
Caused by the occupation, and to call on international organizations, including the United Nations, not to recognize the Israeli legality of an Israeli presence in the occupied territory and to make that distinction. I think we can go to Jeffrey Nice now. He's a human rights barrister. As I've been saying, he's led the prosecution of former Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic at the UN's International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. He joins us live from the United Kingdom. And Jeffrey, we had the key line there. That this court has found in its advisory opinion that Israel's presence as an occupying power is illegal in the occupied Palestinian territory, right?
Yes. This is in a sense, it's not a surprise. You can go on beating up a small group of people.
Damage caused by the occupation.
Because you have the great power behind you of the United States of America and countries like Great Britain and others for so long. But eventually, either the law is going to be seen to be hopeless and of no value at all, or the law will turn in your favor. That is what has happened. Because you have the great power behind you.
Yeah, so this happened. The media is not covering it, but it happened. They're going to be like, oh, it's anti-Semitic. This is The Hague. Comments, it says, I'm a Palestinian civilian mother living in Gaza with no political or military affiliation. I have a simple dream that I can get a decent life with my children like other mothers in this world. Another comment, it says, now we need to see enforcement in action. These are just words, meaningless without enforcement. Another comment, finally, no amount of reparations can fix lives lost and the impact of trauma. It's shameful. It took so long, but this does give me hope. Another one, meanwhile, as usual, America on the wrong side of history. Another one, does this mean sanctions? Because unless there is some major move to punish economically the way other nations have, this ruling is only for that of the history book. Another comment, and what happens if nations, organizations don't comply? If there are true enforcement and penalties, is there true enforcement and penalties? Another one, in Gaza, our children have the right to live in safety and peace like the rest of the children in the world. Stand with us and do not leave us alone. Another one, bring on the sanctions because you know the U.S. is still sending them weapons. Another one, praise God, can we please make this mean something? Countries that support the illegal occupation should face consequences, namely the USA. Another one, now what are they going to do? I'm thrilled to read this, but I don't trust the US or Israel to respond appropriately. Another one, the UN needs to follow suit and impose sanctions, restore Palestine's original lands. I covered that. Biden stepping down.
On taking office, I will impose an immediate moratorium on all new spending grants and giveaways under the Joe Biden mammoth socialist bills like the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. We're going to save all that money. It's not helping you at all. It's not doing a thing for you. It's just, and upon taking office, I will impose an immediate moratorium on all new spending grants and giveaways under the Joe Biden mammoth socialist bills like the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. We're going to save all that money.
It says Trump says he will end Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which lowers insulin costs and creates thousands of union jobs. So it says Trump says he will end President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which caps the cost of insulin at $35 a month and creates thousands of good-paying union jobs. I'm getting tired. This one, The Illusion of Choice, How Five Giants Control the Consumer Goods Market. Revenue by company 2023. Nestle, 111 billion. Pepsi, 91 billion. Procter & Gamble, 84 billion. Unilever, 66 billion. The Coca-Cola Company, 46 billion. Mars, 47 billion. Mendelez, 36 billion. Danone, 30 billion. Kraft Heinz, 27 billion. Associated British Foods, 24 billion. General Mills, 20 billion. Colgate, Palmolive, 19 billion. Yeah, so you can't really see this chart very good, but the major brand is at the top, and then all your favorite brands just fall underneath those. It says, like five fingers, a handful of conglomerates dominate the consumer product market. The latest revenue figures for 2023 show that players like Nestle, Pepsi, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and the Coca-Cola Company lead the pack, with Nestle alone generating 111 billion in revenue. This consolidation raises essential questions about market dynamics, competition, and long-term implications for consumers and small businesses. Yeah, man, there's no real competition, and we don't really have a viable economy without real competition. It says, what happened? Nestle, at the top of the 111 billion in revenue, is known for its extensive range of food and beverage products, including Nespresso, Nescafe, and Purina. On Waterfront, see what we did there. Nestle Water is exciting, especially with Cedric Eggers, head of sustainability at Nestle Water, saying recently that the reality is that human beings are already consuming water at a rate that exceeds nature's ability to replenish it. It says that, kids, is how commodities are born. Pepsi-Cola follows with 91 billion, specializing in snacks, beverages such as Lay's, Gatorade, and Quaker. Procter & Gamble, generating 84 billion, focuses on household and personal care products like Tide, Pampers, and Gillette. With 66 billion, Unilever is another major player in personal care, home care, and food and beverages, featuring brands like Dove, Lipton, and Hellmann's. Coca-Cola Company, earning 47 billion, dominates the beverage industry with products like Coca-Cola, Sprite, and Fanta. It says, with 47 billion in revenue, Mars is renowned for its confectionery, pet care, and food products, including M&M's, Pedigree, and Uncle Ben's. Mondelez, bringing in 36 billion, specializes in snacks and beverages with brands like Oreo, Cadbury, and Toblerone. It says, we would not break the entire chart down here, but it's evidence that the powers behind food and beverages are not many but few. Eyes are burning. Let me see. Oh man, I think I'm gonna wrap it. I covered all of that.
People really mad, but I believe that Jesus was a cult leader, and I believe that it actually worked, and they spread his word all around the world.
Jesus is a cult leader? Have you said that publicly before?
Maybe. Probably on my podcast.
Because I just felt the internet shake. Maybe that was God. Huh? Wait,
Jesus, that you?
Jesus is a cult leader?
Yeah. I think it's more likely that he was a cult leader, yeah. I mean, just think about it, Jason, you know, live, you know, by my word, do as I say. I'm a selfish God. I'm, you know, spread the word around the world about who I am. And then the people around him were just like, you're crazy. We're going to kill you. Because you're like indoctrinating all these people into your belief system. Like cults don't have to always be, you know, I mean, he had some good lessons along the way, but
Not he had some good lessons along the way.
gonna make people really mad, but I believe that Jesus was a cult leader.
Yeah, so this clip resurfaced as a result of her talking at the RNC, and this is them trying to, like, you know, make it seem like she's crazy or whatever, but she didn't sound too crazy in that clip to me. This one says U.S. government considered Nelson Mandela a terrorist until 2008. It's so crazy how this goes, and like people forget history and they don't really know whatever. But it's like the same thing with MLK, like Martin Luther King. When he was alive, they didn't like this guy, and you know he was assassinated. And then after he died, then they're all like, "Oh, MLK, he had the I Have a Dream speech," and they make statues of him and all of this. Same thing with Nelson Mandela, you know. So he was a terrorist until 2008. That wasn't that freaking long ago. You know, now they got statues of him and they're like, you know, Nelson Mandela, he was trying to bring freedom or whatever, you know, end apartheid and all of this. So like this is what they do, man. This is what they do. You know, when we were talking about on the show about people being on the terrorist watch list or whatever, and I'm like, you can't trust the government on who they choose to put on a terrorist watch list. Like, they could just not like you. You know, you might just be doing something like trying to end apartheid. You know, you might just be doing something like trying to bring civil rights to black people. You know. It says your first reminder. It says your second reminder. Nelson Mandela and Frederick William de Klerk were jointly awarded in 1993 Nobel Peace Prize for their work for the peaceful termination of the apartheid regime and for laying the foundations for the new democratic South Africa. And yet Mandela remained on the U.S. terrorist watch list for 15 years. Conclusion: we're regularly on the wrong side of history. Oh yeah, I did want to cover this. It says airstrike hits Yemen's Hodeidah port, Houthi media reports. So this is a retaliation to the drone that hit Tel Aviv the other day. So you got a back and forth going on. So, but the thing is, the Houthis have been, you know, fighting for a really long time, and no one has been able to like handle them. And they're like a small, you know, group that moves quickly and like, you know, you can't find them. So bombing the port hurts Yemen, but the Houthis aren't connected to Yemen's government, if you will. Like Yemen barely has a real government, anyways, because it's been what they call "quote unquote" a failed state. But the Houthis are their own thing. They reside in Yemen, but are their own thing. And you're just hurting the Yemen people when you do attacks like this. And it's not going to hurt the Houthis. And so, you know, and they've been bombing the Houthis since they've been bombing Yemen since Obama, at least Obama, maybe before Obama. They've been bombing these guys. So I don't see Israel being successful fighting the Houthis because no one has been successful fighting the Houthis yet. Al Jazeera says Al Mazrah TV, the main television news outlet run by Yemen's Houthi movement, has said that a series of airstrikes had targeted the Red Sea port city of Hodeidah. The attacks targeted oil refining facilities in the port, the TV reported. Yesterday, Houthis said they attacked a building in Tel Aviv with a drone, claiming it was conducted using a new style of drone undetectable by air defense systems and radar. The attack killed one man and injured 10 others. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant promised retaliation following the attack. Yeah, so this is that retaliation that he promised. Comments, it says the Yemen response will be devastating. I read on Twitter, most of them say, praise to God that we finally share the same pain in airstrikes as Gaza. We will never abandon our brothers and sisters. What a response. Another one, Yemen has the right to defend themselves. Another one, it says, who gave them air path, Jordan? Another one, they bombed oil tanks in Hodeidah in western Yemen with 25 F-34 fighter jets. Ansarallah, Houthi leader, says that Israel will not stopping and helping the Palestinians. We would rather sacrifice our blood than see Gaza suffer. Yes, they attacked Tel Aviv, but what does the world want them to do? The IDF and Israel are wreaking havoc in Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. Yemen is the poorest country in the Islamic world and has been bombed for 7 months by Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, the USA, and England. IJC, the ICC are like turtles, judge and talk but do nothing. Whoop. Dang it. Where was I? It says Israel made a wrong decision by attacking the Yemenis. Now be ready to face serious consequences. Another one, we can't take this genocide anymore. I am Ahmed from northern Gaza and I am 12 years old. I'm still living the genocide and your silence is killing us. Our tortured childhood is screaming and asking for help. Does anybody hear me? I will not give up until you hear my voice because I believe that I have the right to live peacefully and freely on my land. This is an indicator right here. It says Americans are falling behind on car payments in 2024 more than the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 pandemic. Yeah, so that's an indicator of hardship. You know, people need their cars. So, but if they can't pay their car note, that means that they're struggling. And they keep saying that the economy is strong. They're looking at Wall Street. They're looking at the profit that these corporations are making. That doesn't translate to the regular folks, the American people. We talked about student loans a bit earlier. It says, for some personal context, I graduated with 76K in student loans. I have paid off more than 60K of that, and now I only owe 97K. He paid 60K and he owes 20K more than he did from the beginning. Associated Press says, breaking, a federal appeals court blocked the Biden administration student debt relief plan, which would have lowered monthly payments for millions of borrowers. It's crazy. Comments, it says, any argument against student debt forgiveness is basically just, how dare you spend money on something that isn't me? There's no argument for holding educated young people hostage with these payments other than just straight up cruelty. Another comment, it says, I took out 88K, graduated with my master's in 2007, been paying back ever since, and now owe 103K. Telling you, man. Another comment, it says, if they would just forgive the interest, that's all anyone would need, really. That's all anyone needs. Stop the predatory lending by the U.S. government. Another one, here for the MAGA comments about how you deserve to pay more. Another comment, it says, my interest was more than 2 times the monthly principal. The education was necessary for my field as a trauma therapist who works with children. I fall in every forgiveness loophole there is, but I'm thrilled for anyone who gets loan forgiveness, even if I never do. Education benefits society and poverty is a trauma. Another one, why is it okay to bail out banks but not American citizens? Boom. Y'all okay with that? Y'all don't have no problem with them freaking bailing out the banks. Taking care of regular folks? Nah. Another comment, this is actually great because if millennials don't have money to spend, all the boomer businesses and real estate go down the shittier and they can go cry to the government for bailout. And we can be like, oh, look, who needs a daddy government now? Another comment, I was pretty much forced to join the Air Force and forced to avoid this. And that's the other part of this. So, like, yeah, people want to go to school, they don't have the money, so then they go to the military. That's crazy, So you're using the children as cannon fodder. They're literally selling their bodies so they can go to school. You're okay with that? That's perfectly fine. No, they might not make it back, or they make it back traumatized, shell shocked, broken, mentally and physically. But hey, they fought for their country, so yay. Another comment says, yes, it's extortion, predatory lending and mortgage. Predatory lending and a mortgage on the future of this country. Education funding is an investment in the future. If it's mortgaged at all, it should be zero interest. Reinvigorate the concept of the public good. Another one, to the people that believe student loans should not be forgiven, I want to say something so awful that the law would get involved. So all I can say is sooner than later is what I want for you. Another one, well, and this is why the military has all the benefits. Create a system that is lacking so you can purposefully provide a fix with volunteer services to make up the inadequacies of our society. Every problem average American have, don't worry, the mills got your back. Couple more. And for those saying that people shouldn't go to college, who would we have as a society for physical therapists, occupational therapists, and doctors? Another one, I wish Biden had much more power as Trump seems to have, LOL. I guess our government can only take things away from and make things worse, entirely unable to reverse anything or make things better. Last one. I never had any student loans, but I find the predatory nature of them and the inability to clear them via bankruptcy to be disgusting. I don't care, man. I'll probably owe that shit till I die. Like, whatever, man. You can get it from my corpse. What is this? Oh, this is about the bombing. It says the lunatic regime is low on men, munitions, political capital, and financial capital. Is choosing to escalate against the Houthis instead of negotiating a ceasefire. I'm sure this will work out. They don't care. I think I'm gonna get out of here. I'm tired. Oh, I mentioned this, so I have to talk about this. It says all eyes on Bangladesh. 103 students killed by police in protest. It says the students are protesting and fighting for their lives in Bangladesh. The government has instituted job quotas that are nepotistic and political and instituted shoot on sight orders after curfews. At least 65 students have been killed and hundreds injured in the Dhaka protests. Police imposed a strict curfew with a shoot on sight order across Bangladesh as military forces patrolled parts of the capital Saturday after scores were killed and hundreds injured in clashes over the allocation of civil service jobs. The curfew began at midnight and was relaxed from noon to 2 p.m. for people to run essential errands and is expected to last until 10 a.m. Sunday, allowing officers to fire on mobs in extreme cases, said lawmaker Abdul Qadir, the general secretary of the ruling Awami League Party. Let's see. It says the demonstrations called for mainly by student groups started weeks ago to protest a quota system that reserves up to 30% of government jobs for relatives of veterans who fought in Bangladesh's War of Independence in 1971. So, yeah, they're not happy about that. And so, yeah, just like a lot of governments do, you're not happy with what we're doing, go F yourself. Power to the people, my booty. Let's read some more comment. It says, Bangladesh is now a state of complete blackout. Internet has been cut off. Telecommunications has been cut off. Flights to and from are canceled, and curfew has been imposed indefinitely. The government has also ordered the police to shoot on sight. No one has been able to contact their families for more than 24 plus hours. If you think something like this can't happen here, you're crazy. Another comment says the number is nearly 1,000. They killed the students during the night time and they killed them from above and with military helicopters. Wow. Another comment. I hear they're making mass graves in universities. The army is hunting for students at their houses. There's a complete blackout. It's horrible. It's crazy, man. Like these kids, they go to school and they learn a bunch of stuff, and then they learn enough to realize they're getting screwed, and then they try to do something about it, and this is what happens. Another comment. We need a new set of rulers for this world. Humanity is at the edge of extinction. Another comment. I'm from Gaza. We have 5 orphans in the family whose homes were bombed and they lost their parents. If you care about them, read their story and share their suffering. Another comment. 100 plus students died officially. People are saying the number might be around 300, 400. They have already announced curfew for an unlimited time. We don't know what's happening there because we can't communicate with anyone. Another one. Stand with the students. It says, from last 75 hours, no internet connection. We're not able to talk with our beloved ones. It's become a genocide now. Police shooting students like a bird. May Almighty protect everyone. Says students are in danger. Please save the Bangladesh students. Students from schools, colleges, and universities have been mercilessly attacked in university halls and campuses. Now they are being attacked on the streets, along with general people who are supporting them as they are protesting against the quota system and now demanding justice for the students who have been killed. A curfew has been declared, and the army has been deployed all over the country. The order is to shoot at sight. The internet has been shut down all over Bangladesh for more than 48 hours. We cannot contact our families and friends. It is a total blackout right now. Thousands have been injured, and 130 plus people have died already, according to various reports. The real number of casualties is still unknown due to the blackout. We urge international media to cover the news and help students get justice in Bangladesh. We need international intervention. Yeah. Really, really sad. This is what they do. This is how they react. This caught my eye. I think I'm going to wrap it on this. It says, but the 8-hour workday is too profitable for big business. Not because of the amount of work people get done in 8 hours. The average office worker gets less than 3 hours of actual work done in 8 hours, but because it makes for such a purchase-happy public. Keeping free time scarce means people pay a lot more for convenience, gratification, and any other relief they can buy. It keeps them watching television and its commercials. It keeps them unambitious outside of work. We've been led into a culture that has been engineered to leave us tired, hungry for indulgence, willing to pay a lot for convenience and entertainment, and most importantly, vaguely dissatisfied with our lives so that we continue wanting things we don't have. We buy so much because it always seems like something is still missing. Man, like I say all the time on the show, systems manage people, people manage systems. So people always want to point to the individual and be like, oh, you just didn't work hard enough or whatever. It's your fault that your situation is the way that it is or whatever. But you create a maze and you put a mouse in that maze, then that mouse only has certain directions that he could go into. And you can lead that mouse to wherever you want to by the way you design that maze. Now, scale that up. Think of humanity as the mouse and think of the maze as the systems that are in place to manage society. You feel like you have free choice. You feel like you have options, but your options are laid out in front of you in this maze. It's not a coincidence that things are the way that they are. They were designed to be this way. And if you want to fix things, you can't focus on a person that's going to be your savior, waiting for someone to save you. You have to focus on dismantling these systems that lead to the outcomes that we have. Hey, call me freaking crazy. Comments. It says, in addition, working is seen as moral, while not working is seen as immoral. However, many jobs do actual harm, creating surplus, polluting, consuming resources, and it would be surely more moral for all the people doing such jobs to just chill out instead. It's always bemused me, the morality aspect of it, when our economic system is so very immoral. To capitalize, to manipulate, exploit, and benefit at the expense of others is surely immoral. Profit over people, profit at all costs, exponential growth. But this is what we're taught, and we're taught this stuff in school. Like, the economic system, it's like capitalism. It's the best system. There's no better system. You know, people are gonna exploit each other. You know, it's human nature or whatever. And I don't believe it. It's not true. It's not true. They want it to be true and they sell it to you to be true. So they want you to indulge in your lower self. Then that way they can manipulate you easier. And then they can excuse their lower self behaviors, rationalize it. Comments, it says, I hate when these posts talk about how most employees just waste time during their 8-hour workday because they basically act like office jobs are the only jobs. Most retail, food, healthcare, childcare, i.e., non-bullshit jobs, actually require employees to be present during all business hours in order for the business to function. So business would have to staff way more people in order to have individual employees work less. They should absolutely do it. I'm not defending business, but let's be real. Most people don't work in offices. And I agree with that. And that really goes to the part where people say, you know, the person that's working at the McDonald's is lazy. And I'm like, bro, have you ever worked in fast food? Like they're busting their ass literally the whole time. Like most people who have like better jobs, they can go take a break. Like, you know, you can take a break. You can go do something else, or you can sit at your computer and pretend to work or whatever. But the person that's working in the fast food, like those burgers got to keep getting flipped. Like those orders have to keep getting taken. You know, you have to keep on taking people's money and making exchanges. Like there's no, you know, it doesn't stop. It keeps going. Like they're busting ass, bro. Like the people out there working like any service job, you know? And so like these people say that they're lazy, they don't deserve to make more than $7.25 an hour. Yeah. But I've worked in the office. So this part about the 8-hour workday and not getting that much work done and I know that that's true for a fact because I've worked in the office and like uh, after lunch, nothing's getting done for at least an hour. Nobody's doing work. The boss is not, no one in the office is doing any work after lunch. Okay. When it's Friday, getting close to getting off, like the last hour or 2 hours before you get off of work, nobody is doing anything. Okay. No one is doing anything in the office, bro. Like the most of the work I would say is done. Like when you first get to work, the first 30 minutes or so, you're probably not doing nothing. But when you first get to work in an office job, that's when most of the work is getting done in the morning before lunch. After lunch, it's not much getting done, bro. You're looking at the clock. But these people that work fast food, they're lazy. Another comment says, I always wonder why there's so much resistance to a 32-hour work week when it's been shown time and time again it actually improves productivity. But this might just be it. Wild. Yep. They've done a lot of studies and they're going to the 32. Some companies, they did a survey and they tried it out and they saw how good it worked. These companies are implementing it. You know, but then you got all of these companies that's forcing people to come back to work, the ones that were working remote, and they're like, oh, y'all got to go back to the office, man. And it's like, is it because they're being less productive at home? No. We have to pay these leases in these office buildings. We need to justify that expense, you know. Also, their excuse is really that people just be working other jobs at the same time and shit like that. Like, come on, man. It's really about control. Next comment says, it's never been about productivity. It's always been about control. Boom. Another comment, I realized this recently. I can earn however much I want, but unless I start to address my consumerism problem, I will forever be stuck working to feed these urges. Well, when you're depressed and you're sad and you're stuck, you have these urges. You know what I noticed? I noticed when I'm at work and I see people that are on their phone, a lot of times they're scrolling. They're either on social media or they're scrolling like Amazon, like they're shopping, literally shopping. Like when they have a break, when they have a moment, they shop. And it's like that's their escape, that's their release, that's their relief, you know? And you can't blame them because they're depressed. Anyways, y'all, I'm gonna get out of here. Peace and love. Thank y'all for joining.